7:30 p.m. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keyes, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon.
At this time, we usually have a moment of silence, but we are not going to be silent tonight. We are going to stand in solidarity with the 10 people who lost their lives in Buffalo. And we're going to do that. We're going to hear their names. We're going to hear a little bit about their lives. We're going to credit the Washington Post and National Public Radio for giving us a glimpse into the lives that were lost due to a hate crime. This is how the Washington Post starts its story. They were grandmothers, fathers, sons, and sisters. Some were charity volunteers. Many had deep roots in their community, relied on by their families, but also by friends and strangers. I found out this morning that Brother D, who is from the Bluecoats, was in Buffalo. That's where he's from. He was in Buffalo when this happened. He was a few blocks away. So I'm going to read these names, and then we're going to have a meditation, okay? Aaron Salter, former Buffalo police lieutenant, 55, worked as a security guard at the Tops Friendly Markets grocery store. Ruth Whitfield, 86, was the mother of a retired Buffalo fire commissioner. She had spent her day at a nursing home caring for her husband. Catherine Cat Massey, 72, was a member of the community group We Are Women Warriors. The group held a forum in February to discuss ways to tackle youth violence after an incident in a local high school. A year earlier, her group organized a giveaway of masks and PPE for people in Buffalo. Pearlie Young, 77, ran a weekly food pantry. For 25 years, she ran a pantry where every Saturday she fed people in Central Park. Every Saturday. Hayward Patterson, 68, worked as a driver who gave rides to residents to and from the grocery store and would help with their groceries. Celestine Cheney, 65, was at the grocery store to get shrimp and strawberry shortcake. The 65-year-old was a grandmother of 6 and had a great-grandchild. She was also a cancer survivor. Roberta Drury, 32, was at the market to get food for dinner. She often shopped for her adoptive brother, Christopher Moyer, and his family, who lived near the Tops grocery. Her brother is recovering from leukemia. Marcus Morrison, 52, the father of 3 children. Andre McNeil, 53, was engaged to marry Tracy Lynn Makowitz. He died on his son's 3rd birthday. He was there to pick up a birthday cake for a surprise party. Geraldine Talley, 62, was with her fiancé and waiting to become a first-time grandmother. We often have words spoken here. We have different faith traditions, and I would really never, ever impose my faith on anybody else, but I thought about the words in my Catholic tradition when we bury somebody and we're at the cemetery. We all take turns saying, "Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them." And those words helped me today to think about the light that we have in Erie and how we will be in solidarity with the people in Buffalo. Thank you.
Moment of silence. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today, first of all, just thankful that you have gathered us in these chambers today, and that we just ask that you impress your spirit upon us that we might make good and prudent decisions on the behalf of the city residents. And we just ask for your help, that you give us wisdom and that you give us strength. And we just ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
approval of the minutes from the City Council meeting of Wednesday, May 4th, and bills for payment on May 20th and May 27th. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen.
I'm not sure if there's anybody here from the Asian Pacific American community, but I wanted to read a proclamation. Resolved by the Council of the City of Erie, the Council proclaims May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month to honor all Erie residents who trace their roots to this part of the world. Today, Erie City Council is pleased to present this proclamation to representatives of the Asian Pacific American community. Whether you are former refugees, recent immigrants, new Americans, or longtime residents of Erie, Asian Pacific Americans make important contributions to Erie in the fields of education, healthcare, arts and culture, manufacturing, the hospitality industry, and many other walks of life. President Jimmy Carter signed the first resolution to proclaim the week of May 4th, 1979 as Asian Pacific American Heritage Week. Then in 1990, Congress passed legislation to extend the proclamation to the entire month of May. Two dates are significant to Asian Pacific Americans. These two dates occurred in May. On May 7th, 1843, the first Japanese immigrants arrived in the U.S., and on May 10th, 1869, also known as Golden Spike Day, the Transcontinental Railroad, largely built by Chinese workers, was completed in the U.S. In Erie County, the Asian community makes up 4 of the top 5 countries of origin for immigrants living here. Bhutan, 8.7%, India, 7.3%, China, 7.1%, and Nepal, 5.3%. We thank Erie's Asian Pacific Americans for sharing their time, talent, spirituality, and festivities with our larger population. And we pay tribute to your contributions to assure that Erie is a diverse, welcoming community for all. So I'm not sure if there's anybody here. If not, Nika Nasteri Carpenter, who is the mayor's special assistant for refugees, immigrants, and new Americans, she and City Councilwoman Jasmine Flores are at a conference this week on Welcoming America. So I will make sure that Neekan gets this when she comes back, and I appreciate Jasmine joining us on Zoom. She's going to learn a lot in Charlotte. And truly, this proclamation was in the works before the Buffalo murders happened, but it's all part of making sure that we are welcoming here and that hate has no home in Erie. Now we can move on to the next part of the meeting, I believe. Repository sales, correct?
Yep, if there's anyone here for repository sales, you can just step up. You can just state your name and address for the record.
Gary Lee Williams, 239 East 21st Street, Erie, PA.
Okay, if you could just tell council where the property is that you want to purchase and the reason that you want to purchase it, what you want to do with it.
Well, the property is vacant. My plan for it is to make my yard a little bigger, put a fence around it, make my yard bigger, because I live right next door to it. The condition, it could use a little work. I've been maintaining it for years, but it do need a little work. Like I said, I live next door to it, so.
And where's the property at?
It should be, it's 230, it might be 241, because I live at 239, so it's right next to my house. I don't know the exact property, but they gave me some codes, and the codes are, I've got my class. It's East 21st, STSS, whatever that is. It's right next to my house.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Julie Berry. My address is 16 Villa Court, Pittsburgh, PA 15214. And you want me to?
Yeah, just state where the property is.
There's 4 vacant properties. It is 609 East 9th Street, 616 East 9th Street, 641 East 9th Street and 643 East 9th Street.
Okay, and what do you plan on doing with the properties?
Right now, I plan on making it a green space for the neighborhood. I just recently moved to Pittsburgh, literally 2 months ago. I own a house down on East 4th Street. I raised my children there. Jasmine grew up down the street from me. My daughter lives in that house. She's raising my grandchildren in that neighborhood. And when I look at the neighborhood, it makes me sad because it's not the same neighborhood that I raised my children in. I want better for my grandkids down there. So my thought is, and there's a few people behind me, a group of us, that think that if we could buy up some of these vacant lots in that neighborhood and make them into green spaces like other neighborhoods have. Like in Pittsburgh, I have a friend who made a green space in Homewood. She calls it Kenny's Place. It's a, she actually made it into a nonprofit, and it's a spot where residents go and they do yoga in this vacant lot. She put a fence around it. She made a stage. Some of the big organizations like Gwen Girls have had like gala events in this same space in the middle of Homewood. I would like to see stuff like that happen down here on the Lower East Side of Erie. So that is why I am buying those 4 properties, those 4 vacant lots.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This takes us to public comments, Mr. President.
There's no more repository sales,
No,
correct?
no.
Okay. It's time for public comment now.
Hello, hello, hello. I got up here early this time. I am here today to talk about...
Don't forget to state your name and your address.
You just said my name. Okay. My name is Howard Bibbs. I live at 2931 Chestnut Street, Erie, PA. Been living here all of my life, except for 2 years. I'm here to speak on the rainwater, the stormwater wash off, or whatever you call it. You know, it's really interesting because that was something that was brought about by legislation in 2013. Now, in 2014, there were stipulations where tell you what you can do and what you can't do. Now, in terms of financing any jobs, and that's what I want to talk about too, because I don't know who's really operating, and maybe it's not important for me to know, but I don't know who's really operating that particular project, which is supposed to be the runoff. Okay, I saw on the news where there were some big dozers down there digging somewhere, you know, and then I also saw it was said that the money was coming from the American Rescue Act, $11 million. Then I saw where the head man down at the Erie Waterworks, he was on TV, and I missed all of it, but I caught the end of it where he was saying people would have to come into people's home and do something so that they can get ready to do this. One thing that I do understand about that is that you would have to have a working meter. I'm not talking about going to somebody's house and put a meter, you know. Like I have a meter in my house that I've had since August of 2020, and it don't work. And I called 1,000 times saying this meter don't work, and the manager is constantly telling me, how do I know that the meter don't work? You know, but I tell him, you know, I went to a vocational school, and then I went to another vocational school, and I understand reading meters. I read the gas meter. I read my electric meter, but I like reading the water meter because when a person come in, I let them know when a person left the house. If the person left on 4 and they come in on 7, I start charging them from 7. I don't charge them from 4. I try to show them that I'm honest as a landlord. But I haven't been a landlord in 3 years, and I don't even think I want to even be a landlord anymore. Too much rigmarole going on. But I am going to say this. the way that things are going, I don't believe there's a lot of people in Erie, they have meters, and those meters do not work. They send a person out, so-called, to set the meter, and the meter ain't set, but they don't know, I didn't know how to read the meter. They're going to question me about what school I went to, who am I, this, that, and the other, getting very systemic with me about things, you know. But I'm very knowledgeable about a whole bunch of things that I probably shouldn't be knowledgeable about, but I think you should be knowledgeable about things that's going on in your home. And I think that's highly unfair where they put meters in your home, they're taking a working meter out, put a meter in your home, then they estimate, and the estimations are too high. Now, in 2014, that's when this year legislation passed, certain things saying about the stormwater, that the water has to be not estimated, but they have to have a meter. So if they're planning on going into these places, and the places are bordering wherever the work is, that's where the money is coming from. It's coming from people that border where the work is. Now, it also said that this stormwater is also on private property. So it could be 4 or 5 different places where this is going on at one time. And it also said that an authority, rainwater authority, does this. Now, right now, gentleman from the water company, he comes on TV, he's telling people what to do. Then we're getting money from the American Act, starting the job. So who is operating the job? Don't nobody, you know, I mean, who is honestly the operator of the job? Then there's money there's revenue that that cannot be touched, that they've been taking since 2014 for sewage, from 2014. Now, I remember a gentleman came here and said that money was used for parties, thank God it's Erie or whatever. But I don't believe that, because that money cannot be touched. So,
Howard,
yes.
5 minutes. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? How can a person, 'cause I know when Mr. Randy Brown used to come down, he used to talk for a half hour. You know, now, and I called one time.
Randy Barnes.
I called one time to come down and talk, and the gentleman asked me what I was going to talk about, and I told him, and he said, well, you just get in line, you know. And then, well, you know, it just seemed like people don't get the same treatment as some people, and I live here, and Randy ain't even close to being in the city. But that's another thing, too. And then I got several things I want to talk about. So I'd like to get more time, you know, because when I start talking, it just seemed like that ding, ding, ding comes up really quick.
Mel will call you and
Howard,
follow up.
we do know that you have a lot of good things to say, but as you know, if we allowed more than 5 minutes, we probably would be here till midnight, but
well, I was
it
here
is in our rules.
almost at midnight with you last time.
Yep.
I could have had all the time in the world, but I still had only 5 minutes. You know, wasn't nobody here but y'all and me.
right.
Can you hear me? Hello, there we go. My name is Joe Giancarlo, live at 1019 East 5th Street, and I'm here today to talk about police accountability. An article here, this is just an example. This is...
Everybody, please respect the fact that somebody's up here talking, okay? If you want to talk, go on out into the lobby. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank
Continue.
you. There's a problem in the police department in this city. How many cases have been settled over the last couple of years dealing with police violence? You know, we have a department that has authority, but there seems to be very little accountability. There's a culture, an apparent culture in the department of animosity towards the public, of a mindset of criminality and needing to weed out undesirable elements or control undesirable elements. And I just think that's a backwards way to approach the role of policing. We have authority, a group with the authority, but no one holding them in check, and that's a recipe for tyranny. Things like the SCPCP are not enough, frankly. Communication is all well and good, relationship building is all well and good, but when you have a litany of incidents that are going unchecked, that means that there is no trust. You can't build trust when one side has all the power. What we need is transparency and accountability, independent oversight in order to build back that trust. Policy is what matters. Relationships and communication are good, but policy is what matters. If I may quote from the National League of Cities public safety report that says, the time has come for city leaders to declare that community safety requires a broader and more holistic definition, including the components of public health. Cities can make structural changes to align local policies to this new definitions. And I would like council to please take heed. The city needs to demand responsibility in order to begin repairing the harms that have been done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Molly Brechtel, 820 Cranberry Street. I also brought a list of names and details about community members here in Erie. Hannah Syllabaugh, $45,000. Raymond Hansbrew, $35,000. Paul Rosa, $262,500. Tyrone Morrow, $400,000. All of these community members have settled federal civil rights lawsuits alleging excessive force against the City of Erie Police Department. We also have 2 cases pending. Mr. McLaurin and Mr. Dabrowski. And if we look at this news article, we can't deny that this is out in the public. The community's reading this. They're seeing it on the news. They're having their own experiences in our streets. And according to the McLaurin case, it's alleged that the city violated his rights for allowing for a culture of lack of accountability that has created a police policy and custom of turning a blind eye towards police misconduct. Don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-police. I'm anti-police brutality. I also want to bring up that there's a website, and it's called policescorecard.com. And out of a score of 0 to 100, the Erie Police Department receives a 12. That's bottom tier. 100's the highest, right? This is based off of police data. They also have 20 use of force complaints, in addition to the lawsuits. Our community members should not have to go to federal court. City Council must do more than approve settlements like they did for Mr. Hasbrew in January. They must pass policies that restore trust and oversight, because it's clear the administration and the police department can. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Erica Rodriguez. I reside at 413 West 16th Street. I am here today to discuss the property located at 1618 Chestnut Street. Since the city cleaned up the outside of the property on April 11th, there has been further activity at the residence. My husband and I lived down the alley from her at 413 West 16th for over 11 years. The property has always been full of trash since before we moved in. Since the cleanup on April 11th, drug activity and traffic has increased significantly. The yard continues to fill up with trash. Drug users continue to come and go all hours of the day and night. They leave behind needles and other biohazard materials. They are stealing from the neighbors. They are littering. They are breaking into occupied homes, such as one on 421 West 16th Street, where two teenage girls reside. They are breaking into unoccupied homes as well, such as 419 West 16th Street. We have brought some of our neighbors who can attest to this that have a longer list than I do, along with security camera footage and other video and photo evidence. The owner of the property has also lied to police about the status of the property. For the safety of our neighbors, safety of first responders, and the well-being of the general public, after multiple drug-related deaths and overdoses at this residence, we are requesting council approval for the demolition of 1618 Chestnut Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cole Shenley. I live at 615 Ohio Street in Erie, PA, 16505. And I wanted to talk about police accountability like my comrades did earlier. I was going to start off with a quote. And if anybody was following the elections last night, you'll know that there was a woman in Pittsburgh that won her primary, Summer Lee, I'm a big fan of. She was recently questioned around the issue of policing. And the question was, what is your stance on reducing funding for police departments, and the term defund the police? And she says, public safety does not begin with policing. It begins with investment in the divested communities where everything but police budgets have been defunded. Education, infrastructure, good-paying job opportunities, transportation, housing, healthcare. Our public safety starts with keeping our public safe in their everyday lives. So no, I don't think our police departments need millions of new dollars every year in their budgets. I do think black, brown, and working-class communities need that funding to exist, to survive and thrive. There's a reason poverty and crime are always so inextricably linked. Police and mass incarceration are just Band-Aids until we get serious about actually lifting all our communities up out of poverty and giving them the resources every community needs to thrive. That really resonates with me. I know that our police budget it just continues to tick up every year, up and up and up. It's over 40%, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, when does it stop? 50%, 60%? How much of our taxpayers' money needs to go to one department in the city? I'm not against public safety. I don't want chaos in the streets. I don't want bad things to happen to people, and I want their crimes to be investigated. But at what point does this money that we're giving, when we're giving money to police salaries, we're paying police officers far more than other cities get paid, higher wages. They don't have to live in the city. They don't have to have a connection to our city. They can live in the county somewhere. I don't understand it. I just don't. I see Band-Aids in this city. We talk about police hanging out with kids and trying to build good connections, but maybe if we were giving those children and their parents and the people in their communities the resources they need, we wouldn't have to be building those kinds of bridges in 2022. We could have been doing this work decades ago. But instead, we just keep pouring more money in, trying to hire more police officers with money from the federal government that maybe will dry up in 5 years, right? Like this ARPA money. We may not have the money unless we get these 10,000 more citizens into the community. With what Molly talked about, these settlements, the police violence, the police over-policing. I've watched this in person. I was on my birthday in this past February, I was at a bar, restaurant that I go to often, and I watched as a man tried to get help from crisis services, and 6 police officers showed up before the ambulance did to take him to crisis services. 6 police officers for one old man who just wanted some help. That's over-policing. It was a waste of our taxpayers' resources. I don't understand how we can just keep putting money into this when the people in our community need it so much more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Heather Casper. I live at 509 West 7th Street, but I'm here on behalf of the Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network and our neighbors in Little Italy regarding the situation with the house at 1618 Chestnut. And really what brings us, all of us here tonight, is neglect. Neglect not just from that homeowner, but from all of the policies that should be in place to prevent the situation from happening and getting worse, as the neighbors have security camera footage from right now as we're here, trash being loaded up into cars from that place and dumped in the alleys behind their houses. That's happening as we're here meeting right now. And so my voice is not as strong as the neighbors themselves, but I want to be here on behalf of all of those who couldn't come, because we have neighbors that live right nearby there as well, who couldn't come because they're working right now, because they have children and they can't leave them at home without supervision, or they can't bring them to a meeting. So for every person who's here to speak tonight, there are multiples who would like their voice to be heard as well, and so I'm here to represent them. I would like to put a billboard across the city that says, charity is not a substitute for public policy, but if that's what it takes, if I understand constraints of funding, I understand constraints of capacity for the demolition, if we can step in and provide funding to make that demolition happen, we will do that. So there are more neighbors to speak tonight. I thank you for listening to us, and we are asking for the expeditious demolition of 1618 Chestnut. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jose Lopez. I live on 1619 Chestnut, across from the house that all this is happening. I have moved into that facility. I took a house that needed a lot of repair, and I put money into this house. And then I look across from my house, a building that should have been condemned over now a couple years. The lady has let too many homeless people move into her facility. I don't know what she thinks, that they are her renters or whatever the situation is. Homeless, OD'd, and a person died in that house. She had a dog that attacked a couple people in our neighborhood. And this has been recorded in a lot of the incidents. The biggest things we have is the back of my house, an alleyway. A lot of trash has been dumped, and we are tired of picking it up. I got pictures, if that needs to be shown. It's at the point, her house, it's falling apart. There's no way she can repair it. And I'm here for the Empire Evacuation Demolition Grant to have it tore down. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Peter Rodriguez. I live at 413 West 16th Street. I am here on regards to the house at 1618 Chestnut as well. Over the past weekend, they've been moving stuff in and out of the house, dumping trash behind other neighbors' yards, stealing from people, nearly overdosing in the alley, leaving needles behind, trash. I had to yell at a man that was going to defecate in the alley just recently. I think that was on Saturday. So we are asking for approval to fund the demolition of 1618 Chestnut and remove the nuisance from the neighborhood. It has been like this for every year since we've been here, and it's continually getting worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brett Culver. I live at 851 East 24th Street. I'm a homeowner and a property owner. And I first want to say, I hope the best for you people on Chestnut Street because I understand your situation completely. I'm here wondering what benefit I get for paying taxes here in Erie. My home, when I bought it, the neighborhood wasn't half bad. But I have two blighted homes on each side of the home I purchased. And when I purchased mine, I called code enforcement in Erie and asked them if they would do something about these structures because not only were they a danger as blighted structures, but I told the people there, the authority there, that anybody that would move into these houses would be the worst kind of people imaginable. And lo and behold, what happened? The drug dealers moved in. The pit bull breeding operations moved in. I am surrounded here. Let me give you a list of what I listen to day and night, every day. Day and night, all day, all night, in the morning. There are 22 dogs around my house. 2 pit bull breeding operations. Corner of 24th and Perry. On a nice sunny day, when you think it's a nice day to go outside, anybody go there and see what I deal with. I have drug dealers slinging drugs out in front of my house. I can't come out of my house. If I come out of my house, all I smell is dog shit. I'm trying to sell my house now. The blighted structure on the left side of my house caused $1,000 damage to my house this year. The roof is blowing off. It smashes in, it tore up all my vinyl siding. I got the insurance claim right here. They said $1,000 damage. They gave me $300. I can't fix that siding for $300. And the problem is, every time the wind blows, more damage. I can't get the city to do anything about that. I called the health department about the dog feces. My house is now infested with rodents, rats and mice. When I first moved in the first year, I had 1 mouse. I trapped him, he's gone. Didn't have a problem until the drug operations moved in with all the dog food, dog feces. Rodents infested my house. There's skunks all over the place. Drug dealers out in front of my house. Music banging day and night. I don't get no peace, so I'm going to sell. I have a nice house. I have the nicest house in the neighborhood. Surrounded by all this. I have to leave. I'm the person that's trying. I'm the person that's upgrading. I have to leave. I can't live like this. But now I can't sell my home because people come and they park in front of my house One people, they didn't even want to get out of the car because of all the drug slingers in front of my house. The other people got out and smelled all, and heard all the dogs and asked about it. I said, that's the neighbors. They got back in the car and took off. What do? I've called the mayor. I've called the health department. I've called code enforcement. I have gone through every channel. Not one agency has offered any help. I'm out there fighting gangsters, having guns pulled on me and everything else like that. I have to take the side where the drug dealer lives. My whole house is vandalized on that side. I can't report it. Nobody does anything, and I suffer the repercussions of retaliation. Now, why do I pay taxes? And my taxes went up this year. What benefit do I get for doing my part as a citizen? This is a community. We have to live with others. I have respect for other people, and I know I don't have the right to drive them crazy day and night with aggravation, noise, smell, stink, rodents. What right do they have to do this to me? They've turned my life upside down. I can't live there, but I can't sell. I'm looking for answers. You tell me, what do I do as a resident of Erie?
I'm sure we don't have an answer tonight, but we have your information. 851 West 24th, is that correct?
851 East 24th. Yeah,
East 24th.
I've talked to the mayor's office numerous times about it. They said they were going to look into it. Nothing ever done. This is a year later now. I'm trying to sell now, and I can't sell. But I can't live there either. You know, the city is basically making rat nests for problems like this. You know, we can't clean up our city. We can't upgrade our city, you know, because these people have no and they don't pay taxes on their drug operations and their pit bull breeding operations. I pay taxes for everything. And I also have a $2,500 settlement in vandalism that I won at the district justice. I did the repairs that ended up costing me $5,000, and I never received one penny from the people that vandalized my home.
Okay.
You know, I spent thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. They pay nothing. They don't have to pay taxes on their businesses or anything else like that, and my taxes go up while I suffer.
We really appreciate you bringing this to our attention. As you are probably aware, I'm sure this is the first time that we're hearing about your particular problem.
Well, I don't blame the police because their hands are tied these days.
Okay, sir, but your 5 minutes are up. Okay, I know you have a lot more to tell us.
Being rough or nothing, they can't do their job.
Okay.
They can't enforce the laws. Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kathy Schaff. I live at 2437 East 43rd Street. Liz, I want to thank you for that beautiful tribute that you spoke about before the council meeting. It is truly very sad and unfortunately a sign of our times and brings about how precious life truly is, that we just don't know the time or the hour. So thank you. I also want to thank council for all your hard work and due diligence that you do. And yesterday you had a study session that I was not able to watch on Zoom because I was at the HRC advisory meeting. But I really believe in what the hands people have been doing in the city of Erie. They are definitely good-hearted people that are bringing about life-changing places for the people in Erie. The Midtown redevelopment area on 12th and Parade is absolutely beautiful. And I know the people are so grateful for their homes. on a lower income. That is my concern, actually, because I look at the apartment rentals, and it is practically impossible to live in an apartment unless you have about $900 a month plus utilities these days. There's just a very few under that 900 mark. So I would definitely support any development in that Hammermill area. That's a nice area for another development that our lower income families could have a place to stay. Shelter is so important. I also want to talk about a house that is between the 27 and 2800 block of East Avenue. I don't know the exact address on East Avenue, but I've driven by it a few times, and it's absolutely junk, like they're having a perpetual garage sale, which we know is against our ordinances. And here I happen to know a veteran woman that happens to live next door, and I've talked to other people, and it's not a good situation, and she can't sell her house if she wanted to because of the situation next door, and I believe it has been addressed. So we need to make sure, I don't know how, but people know what is right and what is wrong, and really starting to be more respectful. In my neighborhood, we have a situation that hopefully is corrected. It's nothing bad like this just yet, but anyways, we need to look out for each other and just be respectful of one another. The other day, last week, that very nice weather day, we don't have air conditioning, so we open up the windows, and someone had a fire that had to have been like not a hot dog fire or something, and they must have been burning something that they're not, like greenery wood. My house, every time I walk into my house, it's been a week later, and it is really a gross, lung, dirty smell when you walk in because of the person who burned green wood or something. I don't know what they were burning, but something was definitely not a good situation. So it's a matter of knowing what's right and what's wrong and being respectful. The loud noise going up and down State Street and the Dobbins Landing area by the motorcycles are terrible. And my husband thinks that when he was younger, they stopped him from revving something, and they should do it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there anybody else in the audience who wants to speak?
Yes. Lenny Anderson, 417 West Front Street. Hi, City Council, Mayor Joe. Thank you for your time. And I'm trash talking. And that is when two people are close to each other on garbage night, why not help out our supreme athletes and put your garbage on the border of each property instead of right in front of your door? It would cut the stops and starts in half. Imagine how much savings that would be in fuel, brakes, da-da-da-da-da. That's it. Thank you for listening and taking notes. I know who is taking notes.
Thank you.
Oh, nice to see you. The breeze Free advertising.
Council members, Council President, Mr. Mayor, Ed Kissel, 2815 Sigsbee, talking on your item on old business number F on the agenda. As I spoke briefly in council chambers, I believe council, if they approve the project for the developer on the bayfront, that you should look at putting a condition in there that at least one of the 4 public parks that have been approved by council and the developer be done on the north property, which is the property where the hotel is, so that the people can enjoy their waterfront as much as the developer is providing for his clients in that area. So I strongly recommend that you require that in there per the diagrams, per the presentations that were done back from 2014 up until the present time. And I see that there are a few conditions, which one requires a sidewalk along the property line, which I believe would have had to be put in regardless of what was done because of the safety of that area where the smokestack is. Also, I believe City Council is asked to approve your aerial crossing of a city street, Front Street. And I believe the attorney mentioned in caucus that there will be additional cost, I believe he mentioned, to the city insurance. I think the developer should pay that cost if it is additional cost that the taxpayers would have to pay because of that project. And I thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak? Is there anybody online? Frank? We don't see anybody, right? Okay. I do want to check for a minute to see, because we're going to move into the voting portion of our meeting, and I don't see Ed Brzezinski online. Is he on? Okay, and so he'll be able to hear us and vote? I see Jasmine. Okay, thank you. Just checking. So I believe we're done with the public comments. Marilyn?
Okay. Voting on ordinances. Council file number 16282, ordinance 23-2022. And appropriation, amending ordinance number 26-1958, the traffic code of the City of Erie, by installation of stop signs at 2 intersections, Allen Drive and Zimmerman Road, stopping Allen Drive, and West 20th Street and Woodrow Street, stopping Woodrow Street. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keyes. Yes. Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. The council file ordinance 16282, and now known as official file ordinance 23-2022, be finally passed by City Council. Council file number 16283, official file ordinance 24-2022, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $500,000 from unappropriated and unanticipated liquid fuels tax fund balance and providing for the expenditure thereof. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keyes, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. The council file ordinance bill number 16283, and now known as official file ordinance 24-2022, be finally passed by the City Council. Council file number 16284, official file ordinance number 25-2022, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $6 million from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof from the general fund surplus and will be used to fund the city of the Erie General Revolving Loan Fund. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. The Council File Ordinance Bill Number 16284, and now known as Official File Ordinance Number 25-2022, be finally passed by City Council. One for first reading, Council File Number 16285, appropriating the sum of $25,000 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for expenditure thereof for completion of a citywide historic preservation plan. Contribution is made from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, acting through the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission from the Historic Preservation Grant. Sponsored by Ms. Allen, second by Mr. Witherspoon. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. The Council File Ordinance Number 16285, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. This takes us to old business. Pursuant to the recommendation from the City Planning Commission and a public hearing held before City Council on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 8 p.m. in City Council Chambers, 626 State Street, for the request of waterfront conditional use submitted by Scott Bayfront Enterprises, Inc. and Scott's Ohio, Inc. for construction of a commercial recreational use identified by Harbor Place Soaring Eagle to be located in the WC Waterfront Commercial District, be hereby approved. Under the following conditions, the applicant shall construct a continuous sidewalk on the south side of the front street with a minimum of 5 feet width as located and approved by the city engineer. Also, the developer shall enter into an aerial easement agreement with the City of Erie in a format substantially similar to that as attached hereto as Exhibit A and as approved by the city solicitor.
Discussion?
I wanted to address one of Ed's concerns. That second part was the insurance that you were talking about, not wanting to see the city be burdened with. That's what you heard at caucus was the solicitor explaining that the business will be responsible for that insurance and that it will not be a burden of the taxpayers.
Anybody else? Okay, I am going to speak because I've been accused of holding up a business that wanted to move forward. I thought it was really important for council to be able to look at the actual documents, various documents dating back to 2014 that discuss in various terms green space, civic parks, pocket parks, etc. So I'm going to be voting no. I believe that words matter and that when agreements are dangled, that you're going to do something in exchange for something else, that it should be followed through on. So Jasmine or Ed Brzezinski online, do you have anything?
I'm a no. Let's vote.
And I'm a no as well.
Okay, ready
Call
to
for the
vote?
vote.
I just want to make sure there's no one else. Anybody else? We're ready?
Yeah, just a comment about the conditional use application and what the conditions are. And, you know, the way it was explained to me was that if it's a use that is available, then the conditions are met, then that it should be approved. That's the word. That's the way it was translated to me. If anyone else wants to enter into discussion on that premise.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was going to be much. I'm really excited about this. The original stuff that we were looking at, that documents were shared, there was going to be 21 condominiums on the waterfront practically, and there were going to be parks behind those. When there's green space behind a condominium, I usually call that a backyard. I mean, the spaces that were given were, well, public spaces. There was no view or anything. This is great family available stuff. We're going to be getting amusement tax on it. We're going to be getting income tax for the jobs that it brings, and we're getting property tax on the improvements. This empty plot of land, after its LERTA expires, is going to be $200,000-300,000 in tax revenue for the city, and it's a very enjoyable usage. So as people offer their no's, I'm usually going to be voting in favor of finding ways to increase tax revenue and entertainment for our residents.
Mr. Nelson, I do have a question for you, because I have heard that you told somebody, now this is, third-hand information, but this is not a new zip line. This is the zip line that's being moved from Chautauqua County. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding.
Okay,
I
I just
used
think
it up there. It was
I think it's
enjoyable.
important to let people know that. So I've seen reports that said it's similar to the one in Chautauqua County, and I had heard by the by that it was not just similar, but was actually the one that is going to be dismantled from Chautauqua County. So I just think, in the interest of letting people know what's going on, that should have been clear also.
Madam President? Madam?
Yes, sir?
Here, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
That is not a zip line. All it is a lift. And we should call it a lift, not a zip line. People sit in a chair and they take it up, and you get a beautiful view of the bay, and then they come back down. It's not a zip line. That's all I have to say. Call for the vote.
Okay, we'll call for the vote.
Okay. Voting on resolution, Mr. Brzezinski. Ms. Flores.
No.
Ms. Flores.
No.
Mr. Keys.
No.
Mr. Keys.
We heard you, Jasmine. We're just have a lag here.
Okay. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Troop.
Yes.
Mr. Witherspoon. Ms. Allen.
Oh.
Okay. Resolution passes 4 yeas, 3 noes. Madam President, this takes us to new business.
Second.
Okay. Do we separate first before we vote on moving?
Yeah,
Are there any separations? I'm going to separate one just to explain that.
any others?
4.
Any other separations?
What's that? No. Okay.
Can I separate number 8, just because I would like to know what more Baldwin Park is doing to recruit community feedback for what they're doing for that public park.
Oh, we got more pickleballs?
It's the same one. Okay, are there any other separations? Marilyn, I have 1, 4, and 8.
1, 4, and 8, correct.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to vote on the balance right now.
Yes. Voting on the balance of the agenda. Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keyes, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. Moving the balance. A resolution sponsored by City Council President Ms. Allen that Erie City Council revert back to meeting twice in July and hereafter beginning July 6, 2022 at 9 a.m. Discussion?
I guess mine would be the discussion. First of all, I actually want to thank Ed Brzezinski. We tried last year going to one meeting, and I think Ed would agree. We kind of then got backed up on business for the meetings that ensued. So this is really just going back to the way we had been meeting. I did want to point out, because we've had some lengthy meetings, although this is going a little bit faster than I thought, that as of, I looked it up the other day, council used to meet 4 times a month and went to a twice-a-month meeting. I forget how many, I think it was in 2010. So I think going down the road, we might want to look at how we divide up our business so that we don't give short shrift to anything. But I think we learned, it was a good experiment last year, but we learned that just meeting once in July wasn't adequate. So we're going back to our 2 meetings in July. So no rest for the weary. So I just wanted to explain why this was on the agenda, to formally do this. Anybody else have any comments or plans for July? Yes, Mr. Brzezinski.
You have my support on that. We gave it a shot, but it's tough with the bills coming in so many different times. So I'm with you.
Thanks much. We're ready to vote, Marilyn.
Okay. Voting on the resolution, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keyes, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. Resolution passes, yea 7, nay 0. Resolved by a council of the City of Erie that the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Project Review Committee approval of the following loan be formally ratified. Hands Eastlake Road Housing Corp. for $3 million at 30 years for a fee of $7,500 a month.
Discussion?
A point of clarification, is that for the Hammer Mill site there?
Yes.
Okay.
And Ed, you weren't able to be at the study session, but Chris Groner did return to the study session also. And 2 things I wanted to let you know is that, I don't think you were able to hear it last night, is that building single-family homes there would not be cost-effective. However, we do have additional ARP funding, which is going to be used for programs to help first-time home buyers. I know you had talked a lot about the opportunity to be able to actually become a homeowner. So that is in the overall housing plan, just not in the HANDS plan. So I don't know if that'll affect your vote on this, but I wanted to let you know that there are certainly people who are cognizant of the fact that we would like to be able to encourage more people to become homeowners, even if they don't have a lot of resources. So, but we also have to recognize that a lot of people do need the type of housing that HANS provides, which is affordable housing, and that HANS is the only certified housing development agency in the city of Erie. But thank you for raising those questions last night. I'm sorry you weren't able to hear the additional explanation. So additional discussion?
I thank you for that. I'm okay.
Any other comments?
I just want to go on record that, it is a loan, but it is a considerable amount of money, and where I'm not comfortable with necessarily where the funds have been pulled from. That being an amateur at this, I will defer to the economic development people, but I think that, when I always defer to small organizations, individuals, small businesses to get money as opposed to larger ones who have access to capital.
So use that chance to tell the awesome thing that you as the Economic Development Chair are doing next month with that. This is coming out of a fund that's $4 million, and there's still a few $100,000 left in it. And Mike, as the chair of the Economic Development Committee, is bringing together a bunch of those small nonprofits for what's left of that money.
Any other comments? Mel, you were not able to be there last night, but we did get a lot of information that we can make sure that you have, and we've also had an offer if anybody would like to actually go see the site where this is being planned for. We can make those arrangements. So. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what did you say?
It didn't need to be on mic. I'd like to make a motion.
To do what?
I'd like to make a motion to table this until after the environment.
Hold on, I have a comment before you get into that, Michael.
I didn't know you were up. I didn't tell.
Before, I'm
No,
sorry,
it's okay.
Jasmine, we'll get to you, but on the environmental thing, I think it's obvious that this will not go forward if there's an environmental thing that happens. And timing is of the essence here. I'm sorry, Jasmine, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that I'm at a conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we were discussing housing, affordable housing crises all over the United States. Charlotte is not able to build quick enough affordable housing for the people who are coming here to be here for all the development that they're doing. Erie already has a housing crisis that we were given a briefing on as far as us being in the housing crisis for quite some time. Affordable housing is going to be a priority in our city for the simple fact that homeownership is not an option for a lot of young people. And with the current housing market going and ballooning, it is going to get farther and farther from our reach. Even with the program that you guys have available, I looked through the paperwork, it is not very user-friendly. So we're gonna need somebody to actually make that a lot easier for regular people like myself to be able to actually access that homeowner program. So I just want you guys to be aware that Erie has an opportunity to actually build a Lower East Side housing that's affordable. A lot of the Lower East Side residents currently don't have many options as far as what kind of quality of life they live in because of the conditions that slumlords have allowed these living environments to be put in. Now, we have had quite a few residents speak tonight about properties that are nuisances and should be blighted, and maybe if we did actually follow through as a city, we wouldn't have as much of a crisis in our city with blighted property, and we could actually refurbish those homes so that people could actually have homes and feel like ownership in the neighborhood. We have an issue, and the affordable housing option that we currently have is pretty much all we have. We only have hands, so we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So we have to do what's right for our residents, and as Kathy Schaff did mention, rent prices are ballooning. As the only renter on the current city council, I can tell you that you're not finding anything less than $1,000 with you flipping the bill for water, sewage, and trash. Now, none of our wages in our community are currently paying for what this cost is just for your shelter. Affordable housing is a need, and us continuing to go around the idea of it being a toxic environment and us not being able to afford it, it's a loan. This is going to actually benefit our community. I'm not against it. I'm actually kind of disappointed that people who would understand our voters who are low income need this, are trying to hold it up. But I just wanted to give that little bit of information that I'm here with 50 different states, all here for a conference, trying to be welcoming to everyone. And the housing crisis for affordable housing is everywhere. That's all I'm going to say. And it's getting worse.
If you may, so I completely agree with Ms. Flores, and so I will withdraw my motion. But I will say that as far as we have $100,000 on this very budget today that was allocated for ERA housing rehab, ERA acquisition, we're giving back. We gave $600,000 to a corporation last year because we were unable to execute and did not give the money away that was set aside to help our residents. And we continue to do it. We can't continue to do it and then say it has a problem that somebody else has to solve. We've had money here. We failed to do what we needed to do with the money.
What money on the budget are you saying we're giving back?
I think it's the thing when we talked to CDBG.
Third one on the...
Oh, the money that we're using on the curb cuts instead. Okay, all right.
That's another $100,000.
We had an explanation in caucus about this. I don't know what more we can do to beat things to death before we vote on something. We had a study session last night. The person in charge of economic development came down to talk about this. If the vice president of city council would like us to meet every week for 4 hours a week to vet stuff, I'll be happy to propose that we meet every week for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours a week to keep vetting stuff. So that'll be next on the agenda next week, if that's what we want to do. Otherwise, we need to do our homework.
The homework's been done. So the homework has been done. The money's been transferred. I don't know what the explanation is that it wasn't executed. From the perspective of who's responsible, there's a myriad of different reasons for it. But the evidence is that it wasn't executed, it was allocated and it wasn't executed. And we failed to make these programs work, so we give the money to something else.
That is not what was said.
That's what would happen.
What was said is that there were $3,000 grants that came with enormous regulations that weren't worth having to put somebody through that. So, Michael, I think you have a proposal to table. Do you want us to vote on the tabling? Or could we move forward on this? Because if we table it, you're going to vote against it again. And then you're going to grill Chris Groner again. And then you're going to grill Deb Smith. And then you're going to grill Renee. And then you're going to say something to me. Are you tabling? Do you want to table?
I am not going to table, but I will continue to voice my opinion on how we spend the people's money. That is my job, to get to the bottom of the question of how this money is being spent.
We can settle this with a vote.
Chair, Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
let's move on.
Call for a vote.
Business, please.
Voting on the resolution, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keys.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. Resolution passes 7 yeas.
Okay, now we're up to number 8,
Yes,
and this is the Pickleball
yes.
grant request.
And the reason why I wanted to separate it was because I've been hearing concerns from residents who live in those neighborhood, well, that specific neighborhood, that they're not being surveyed or asked for any type of feedback as far as the pickleball court being put in or anything that's going on in that park. So I want to know, with the organization or the entity that is actually making this happen, are they actually surveying the neighbors? Are they communicating with the people that are already there? Because we don't want to make the people who have been living in that neighborhood feel as though, you know, they're losing their park to something different. Like I've never done pickleball, so I don't know if it makes a lot of noise. I don't know anything of that nature, but what I do know is that I have had quite a few voters reach out to me in regards to not having any type of input on the decisions that are being made in that park. And that concerns me because it is a public park.
So that's, excuse me, that's not my part of town, but maybe you can answer, are there already pickleball courts there? I thought they were already pickleball courts there since last year when money was allocated for it. Maybe Mr. Mayor.
No, that was never done.
Okay.
The money, there'd never been enough money and it hadn't been approved.
It's bare ground.
Right.
Okay. But we cleared the ground for them, because I know there was a big thing with the citizen and tree removal.
That might have to do with other work that was done in the parks. I don't know if it was this or not.
No more discussion on my part.
Madam President? Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Brzezinski?
if Jasmine has questions on this, would it be a good idea to table it until we got answers for her? I don't know. I haven't, I know people that live in that area, and I haven't received the complaints that she has, but it's notable that many times things get done without really asking people around what they want. So this is legit, then maybe we should take a look at it. Jasmine, it's up to you. If you want to try a table, I'll give you a second.
Yeah, can we table that until we have a little bit more information? Because I do have at least 2 or 3 different voters who send me emails stating that they're not getting any type of, you know, cooperation as far as the decisions that are being made without any feedback from residents.
Do we know if there's a deadline for this grant?
I do not know. I'm asking.
Let's at least get that information so we don't
Right.
jeopardize $250,000.
Because I don't want to get in the way of free money, but I also don't like the idea of just because we're going to get grant money, we're imposing something on the residents that already live in that area and putting this into their park. I mean, it is a public park, but it's their neighborhood.
Renee Lamus indicated that if we do not approve it tonight, we would miss the deadline. So if we table it, we're effectively killing it. So I guess the way I would put it is, if we don't want to go forward, then we would vote no. We could vote yes to apply for the grant and then not take the grant if we wanted to go that route. That might be the safest route, where it would give us the option to withdraw or to move forward. But we do have a deadline that if we're gonna, and that happens all the time at these grants, you get these small windows, but if we want to apply,
Right.
now's the time. My gut would be, if we don't want to take it, we could always say thanks, but no thanks.
And we could, in the meantime, ask for, to make sure that we do get that neighbor parks people conversation that's necessary.
Yeah,
So-
my understanding is there's been some, just from hearing from Renee, and I know that I've talked with Chuck Zisk in the past, who's the Director of Public Works, that there has been some interaction, but Ms. Flores raises an issue that maybe there hasn't been enough and we may need to do more. But I think applying for the grant doesn't seem to pose any real risk. We don't have to take it if it's not what the community wants.
Sounds like, and I was just
Okay,
on a...
I'm okay with us applying for it.
Okay, thank you, Jasmine. We appreciate you bringing the concerns to our attention too. So let's vote, and then I'm going to ask Chuck, as the liaison to Public Works, would you be able to now plunge into pickleball in addition to all the other things that you're involved in? Okay, he's going to be our pickleball court expert. Marilyn, we're ready to vote.
Voting on the resolution, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr. Keyes.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson, Mr. Troop, Mr. Witherspoon, Ms. Allen. Resolution passes, yea 7, nay 0. Madam President, this takes us to committee reports.
Okay, we'll start with, let's start with Ms. Flores and then Ed Brzezinski, who are with us online, or virtually. Jasmine, do you have a committee report? You did a great job telling us about Charlotte. If you do want to just let people know what conference you're at, I can tell already you're going to bring back great ideas, so, and any additional committee stuff you want to share.
I'm at the Welcoming America convention, I believe, or Welcoming City. I can't quite, hold on. It's Welcoming America, Building a Nation of Neighbors. It's pretty much, it was a tour of Charlotte. It is so diverse here. It has businesses of all sorts of varieties in like the same plazas, which just blows my mind because of how secluded Erie is. I don't really have much of a committee report just because it's the end of the month and those meetings happened at the beginning and I already gave the report. I do know that with the EMTA, they don't have a Greyhound person inside, so the EMTA has like a digital window set up, which I don't think is adequate enough, especially for people who are stuck having to go to the bathroom and then go over to the library, or for people who are coming in through Greyhound. There's no way for them to actually have a space. Accessibility is an issue in Erie County as a whole, but it's also an issue all over the country because Charlotte also has accessibility issues. They are putting in a rail to be able to help the buses, which I think is kind of ironic since Erie had a rail system at one point, but they took it out. So for me, it's just pretty much seeing what they're doing and what they're trying to make better and maybe bringing some of those ideas to Erie. Just because it's like they are so much more developed than we are. Erie has been in a time capsule for the last 40 years. So I feel like we can get some stuff correct without getting it wrong first by learning from other places and mistakes, if that makes sense. So I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to come here and learn and train for the city to bring back all this information that we didn't have in our city to begin with. So that's all I have to report at the moment.
And we're also grateful for you asking for time off of work to be able to do this. That was a bit of that could be a sacrifice on your part, so thank you. And we look forward to everything you're going to be able to tell us along with Nikin when she returns. So, Mr. Brzezinski, do you have a committee report?
Just a couple comments. Jasmine, great job. I'm a little confused because Mr. Keyes called me this afternoon and he's concerned, or was concerned, in discussion with me about the cleanup of that Hammermill site. I just want to make sure that the city isn't going to be the coin holder to clean that up once we get that. Do I understand that there's going to be another test of it or something within a week or so? Again, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry I'm out of town. I'm at a family get-together.
Yes,
and that's more important.
DEP is actually going to be doing core samples, and I believe that there is an EPA grant already, and I was on a call, I guess it was yesterday, and in the bipartisan infrastructure bill, there is new money that will be available. I'm not saying it will necessarily come to Erie, but there's a big chunk of money for brownfield reclamation. Now, I don't know if that would qualify, but this will not become a burden on the city to clean up that site.
The other thing that was shared with us at the study session was that there was going to be conditions on the loan, and the loan would not be actualized until the environmental studies came back. So we won't be dispersing the money if the cleanup is too much.
Again, my concerns are from a distance, and I'm sorry for that, but they are concerns for the city. And I thank you, and have a good night, everybody.
Okay, have a good trip. All right, now we'll go back to the people who are here in person. So, Mr. Keys, committee report.
No committee report tonight.
Okay, Mr. Troop, committee report.
Madam President, no report tonight.
Mr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Madam President. Not many people know that I get up at 4 in the morning and go to a facility I wouldn't name and exercise for a couple hours. But several people there, as well as a young lady, when I went to vote yesterday, asked me why should her 82-year-old father pay school taxes. I said, that's a good question. And I directed her to talk to the school district and state representatives. And it's a very good question. So I told her I will put it out there, and it's out there. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson.
I had a sewer authority meeting yesterday. We passed the flood mitigation proposal for Mill Creek, the creek, not the township. And so they were real excited about that. That was the biggest thing on their agenda. And then they've had some ongoing litigation over an elevator, and that's moving along nicely, and that they're a little more optimistic about it. But that was my only authority meeting since last meeting.
Okay, I went to training on Monday and Tuesday that Kathy Rosdick arranged with Mill Creek and City of Erie officials. Mondays was about planning, Tuesdays was about zoning hearing board, and I think the amazing thing was having officials from both municipalities in the same room talking about common, comprehensive plans and everything. So it was really well done, and I think that it's the kind of example of something that we could eventually take to regular people in the community so they understand how planning works, what the functions of planning commission are, and also how the zoning hearing board functions. We heard a number of people here today at the citizens to be heard, public comment period. I think one person in particular was very skeptical about the Strengthening Police and Community Partnership Program. The mayor and I were there today at Wilson Middle School for the SPCP conversation with middle school students, and I will say this is the second one I've been to. I missed the one at East. I went to one at Strong Vincent. I talked to Michael Outlaw, and the trust building, the conversations are getting better, more blunt, more focused on listening to what young people have to say. I know not everybody can be there, and there's skepticism out there. We've had hearts broken from Buffalo. We've had, Espen's death. But when you look at 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, I think these young people are leaders. They had ideas. They talked about the fact that they were not going to have a graduation this year, and they were encouraged to take that request to the school board. We talked about a book, and we talked The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, and maybe getting some book club stuff going. It was very productive. So council, if you have a chance to come sometime, maybe during, I don't know what will happen during summer, but the thing is, the city, and I talked about Mill Creek and Erie working together at the SPCP, these trust building exercises, the school district and the city and the students are working together. So, and then I participated in Pennsylvania Municipal League regional meeting yesterday. That was via Zoom. There's 2 pieces of legislation moving forward. One is on fireworks. It's not going to curb everything, but we know we had a ton of complaints. I can let everybody on council know what those that legislative number is, because we would really like to make sure that this is a problem that the state created. It wasn't a problem that the city of Erie created, with everybody being able to set off all kinds of fireworks. And radar to stop speeders is possibly moving forward. They said there's some hope now once the primary is over. That's my committee report. Mr. Betza, do you have a report?
I'm pleased to tell you I have nothing.
And Teresa isn't on, is she? Did anybody see Teresa online or anything? Okay, Mr. Mayor, do you have a report?
Thank you, and I'll be brief. I did, on Sunday, my wife and I went to the Maria House project that we're celebrating their 50th anniversary, even though this year was their 51st. They didn't get to celebrate it last year. And Father Peterson founded that, and of course he's passed away several years ago. It was a very moving and a very good experience. Joe Tarquinio, who's been running that program, is really doing a great job with it, so I was happy to be there. Last Wednesday, the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, did their memorial. I think a couple of you might have been at that. That was a very moving experience. Also on the same day, Jonathan Tower, who runs Arc Terrace, which is one of the largest investors in this country. They're out of Boston, and they've already invested about $25 million in downtown Erie in the projects going on. The EDDC is doing. They're looking for other opportunities in Erie to invest money, so we're real pleased with that and hope we're going to get more investment from him going forward. Last Thursday, the Erie Downtown Partnership announced the events they're doing this summer. Last summer they did 100. This year they're doing 150. So, Emily Fetchko and Dave Tamalonis are really doing a great job with that, and I really praise them for what they're doing. Also last week, the police did some incredible work. I'm sure you probably all heard about this on the news, but it was the city police. There were, I think about that day, there were like 65 police officers, Erie police officers involved. Mill Creek police were involved, the state police, the FBI, and they took in, I believe in Erie, about 23 drug sellers, basically, people involved in moving drugs. And then a couple that were down south as well in the same group were arrested. So hopefully that's going to have a big impact on drugs availability and selling here in Erie, and I'm really hoping that moves forward well. The event you mentioned, Liz, at Wilson Middle School today was very moving. It was very good. It was a good sharing of ideas. It's part of a trust building series, and there won't be any of those types of events this summer. Those will start again in the fall when school starts. What happens in the summer is they do visits to playgrounds in the summer, where in the inner city where kids are playing, and they go with police, and also other people go as well. And if any of you want to go along on any of those, you'd be welcome to. I think they're scheduled already, if I'm not mistaken. And basically the fire department goes, and if it's a warm day, they start some water flowing and kids can run through it and stuff. And it's just a good way, again, to try to build a good relationship with kids living in the city and move forward. So that's my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Mel, did you have anything else to add? Oh, I'm sorry, Marilyn, do you have anything else?
Just ready to adjourn when you are, Mayor.
Jasmine.
I just wanted to say, can we applaud a successful hybrid city council meeting where all members were able to successfully cast the vote?
Yes, yes, yay!
Because technology is amazing, team. All right.
And let's thank Frank Stramilla, too, for helping us with this. He's the unsung hero through all this. So thank you, Frank.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Jasmine, for recognizing that, and meeting adjourned.
City Council adjourns at 9:14. Ms. Allen, Mr. Brzezinski, Ms. Flores, Mr.